Hey, I'm Dave Klein,
And I'm Jordan Ramey.
and we had the chance to check out Sonic Frontiers at Summer Game Fest 2022, and we're here to talk about it. So, Jordan, initial impressions, what did you think?
It's wild that Sonic is being put in an open Breath of the Wild type world is kind of like my initial impressions of it. It's one of those things that, like, in a follow-up interview when we were talking to the devs and whatnot, they're like, oh, this is going to be like a new step for Sonic. And I can see that. I can see that this could theoretically be like a transformative step for our favorite blue hedgehog, but I'm not entirely convinced that it works. That it works the way that they want it to work.
Yeah, I mean, it's also interesting with what you said with Breath of the Wild, because in that interview that Jordan did, they revealed that they started working on it in 2017.
Yeah.
Same release day as Breath of the Wild. So it seems like a pretty clear inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like some things do work, because we both had a chance to play it, and some things don't. And the last Sonic game that I played, that was a newer one, was Sonic Forces. And for me, it has some of the same issues, which is the game feel of it. I like what they're doing with the size of the levels. There's a lot of collecting in the game, which I like. The openness is actually refreshing with the fact that Sonic controls a little weird, so you're not going to fall off that much. But to me, it's just controlling Sonic just feels slightly off. And anytime you move a direction, he just shoots that direction, and you're just going to start flying in different directions. And that's where the open field kind of helps. But it still has that same issue where something about it just feels a little off to me.
Yeah, and we should clarify, both Dave and I played, there's two modes for this game. One where it's like, oh, Sonic controls a little bit more, it's like it's action mode, and then there's one that's like high speed mode where he goes apparently blazing fast. We both played on that mode.
That's a good point,
So
yeah.
it's possible that on the other mode, it's much easier to do the actual platforming and combat segments.
Yeah, but I mean, we only had 15 minutes each.
Yeah.
Actually, something that's worth mentioning that you brought up is that as we talked to the producer about the game there's kind of different segments within the game and like things that they focused on. And one was the open field. Another one is the combat that's completely different than anything we've seen in Sonic so far, which is that now he punches and kicks, and you have a full combat sequence where you can learn different moves. There's almost like a skill tree for Sonic to learn moves, and there's dodging now, and you're really getting in enemies' faces as opposed to just bashing them, which was an interesting direction to take Sonic in.
I was about to say, did you like the combat at all? Like,
I actually, you know what, I did like it. I think it didn't feel as refined, and again, that's sort of the game feel thing to me, where things feel just slightly off. There's mini bosses that you face in the game, and a lot of them that we were facing feel really built in for the mechanics. Like, there's a giant one that both of us fought that has these legs that slams down, and then you run up the legs to jump and then start attacking it. And
very
it feels,
Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah, very, very Shadow of the Colossus. And I felt like they were really taking into account the mechanics of the game and the gameplay and the combat and how Sonic works for these enemies. So I appreciated that, but did you get a different takeaway?
I was gonna say, with those bosses, the ones that were the like larger than life, that they were almost like platforming challenges in and of themselves, like that sort of combat I did really enjoy, because I think that kind of fits with like the core idea and conceit of Sonic, where it's like he is a action platformer like protagonist.
Yeah.
We did face like a mini boss called the Ninja, that it was more like, oh no, this is kind of like just getting in its face and like dodging and then like punching it in the back, and I'm like, wow, this is that didn't really work for me as well. I was not enjoying that as much. So I do really like the ones that you were talking about, the ones where it's like, oh, I am platforming and fighting like at the same time. It gave me very Shadow of the Colossus, Hyper Light Drifter, like those sort of vibes. And I think that works for Sonic. So my hope is that we see more of those throughout the game. There was like that boss fight where it's like, oh, you had to like circle around him to like slowly knock down his head so that you could actually like attack him and finish him off. I'm like, that was really cool. I did enjoy that, but man, that ninja boss fight. Was...
You know, honestly, the ninja boss fight again feels very Breath of the Wild inspired to me, because that whole like dodge, you get a little slow time to hit the enemy a little bit, is what Breath of the Wild did. So it feels like, again, it pulled away from that. I also love that boss you're talking about. There's one where you use a special move by circling around it to stun it. That was another one that I liked because it uses the mechanics. But his name is just Tower, so I thought that was kind of funny. I'm like, oh, okay, Tower. That's That's the boss. All right, tower.
Although I do wonder, and we should talk a little bit about like the story, or I guess lack of story that we really saw with this idea that's like, oh, it's just ninja, it's just tower. Like we saw these items that it's like, oh, if you collect enough of these, you can save Amy. It's like, save Amy? Like, what's happened to Amy? And then we had a cutscene where it's like, we saw Eggman, but he was in a totally different place. So it was just mostly Sonic not knowing what was going on. So we, the players, didn't know what was going on. We're just kind of wandering around, and the devs were like, oh, it's supposed to be a bit more of a mystery this time around. Like, it's not like this action comedy of Sonic being like, Eggman's here, Shadow's here, like, we need to stop him. Like, there's a mystery here that you have to solve, and I am curious to see, like, is that the thing that sells Sonic Frontiers? The fact that there is a mystery at the core of this game that you have to try to solve, something that we've never had before. I'm curious to try Sherlock Sonic.
Something else too is that what we played was essentially like the plateau in Breath of the Wild, where it's this smaller segment and then it opens up into the open field thing. How did you feel about the open field platforming itself? Because there's also a lot of puzzles sprinkled throughout it too. There's a lot to do in the open field.
It's fine. Like,
so enthusiastic.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like we've had Breath of the Wild, we've had Immortals, Phoenix Rising, we've had Horizon Forbidden West. We've had a bunch of open world games that have puzzles in them over the past year. I don't think Sonic does anything actually revolutionary with them in its open world, besides the fact that everything's a bit further spaced out because Sonic runs so fast. He's basically already the mount that you would unlock for like Link and Aloy and stuff like that. So that is... I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, the puzzles like this, that's going to sell the game. I think it's just kind of your elementary like open world puzzles. I'm cautiously optimistic about it. I'm not like totally sold on it, but it is something that I'm like, oh, when it comes out, I'll probably check it out.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's, for me, one of my favorite Sonic games I've seen in the past 10 years outside of maybe Generations.
That's honestly though, like not.
Oh, I know, but it's like it's one where it looks like it's a step in the right direction. I'm mainly concerned about the game feel of it, but a lot of the things they're doing, I think, are steps in the right direction. So I'm really hopeful, and so that was Sonic Frontiers. Looking forward to it. Hopefully, it will be what all of us Sonic fans really hope for. So I'm hoping for that.
Yeah.
Until then, that's it for us with Sonic Frontiers and Summer Game Fest. Stay tuned for more Summer Game Fest, and we'll see you guys later. Bye.